Hello again, Michael Ware with Iowa Firearms Coalition's Warrior Wednesday. We have with us the Gunsmith beard. Am I allowed to use your real name, Perry?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's
okay,
fine.
All right. Perry Whitaker's with us today. I've known him for a while now. This is going to be kind of fun. So let's just do this. Why don't you introduce yourself and give us some contextual framework for what the Gunsmith beard is and what your travels have been in the Second Amendment.
Sure. So I've loved guns most of my life. One of the things that my mom said I started in guns is when she caught me in a pile of clothes playing with racks, trying to build a gun out of a broken hanger. And she said I would do that around the house. I'd find random things and try to make a firearm out of it. And when I had an opportunity to get into guns later in life, I definitely did. I went to gunsmithing school and MCC at Troy, North Carolina, and that led me to Brownells, which is where I met Mike, and also where I fell in love with guns and the community and the industry. And it just seems like I've met more amazing gun-toting Americans than ever just being in that industry and representing it. And so Gunsmith Beard is just a name that kind of came. I've had a beard probably most of my marriage. When I had kids, I grew out my beard, and I think I've only shaved it once. So the gunsmith beard thing came from, I had a beard, and then I went to school and got formally trained to be a gunsmith, and so that's kind of where the name came from.
That sounds easy. So how long have you been married?
So coming up on 17 years.
Oh, you're just getting warmed up good. That's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So you talked about going to school there in your home state?
I did, yeah.
Okay, what was that like?
So it's when I first looked at it, there was about 10 schools, and this was back around 2014, that kind of era. There wasn't a whole lot of gunsmith schools. There definitely wasn't online gunsmithing schools, which a lot of gunsmiths laugh at, because if you can't be in a machine shop fabricating stuff, you're not really doing it right. So I looked to see who was credible, who's a good school, who has a good reputation. And at the time, Montgomery Community College was number 2. And so I waited 2 years, finally got that acceptance letter in the mail. And then me and my wife moved from Raleigh to Charlotte. And then I commuted from Charlotte, Locust, all the way to Troy, North Carolina. And I went through their 2-year program.
I don't know the area. Is that a long jaunt?
It's not really, no. Okay. It was an easy commute.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what made that college better than another?
I think the prestige. Some schools specialize in basically a glorified armory. So working for the military in the Army, like Bragg has their school, but it caters to what they need for as far as the Army goes.
Yeah, sure.
And then others, like there's a school in Montana, they cater to a little bit different audience because they're looking at more like safari rifles and hunting rifles and like duplicating stocks, carving stocks. And so we did all of that, to be honest. It's just ours catered to how do we make a gun? We chamber a barreled action, how to take a stock from a block of wood and carve it down and actually kind of see what's in the wood and then end up with a precision gun, bedding, fabrication with using, a vertical mill and lathe. Your first year in their program is machining. You're going to get your hands dirty and you're going to fabricate stuff, which is what I loved. Yeah. That's the part I love the most, is like, how do I make this better and perform better, and how do I fabricate metal? So
I remember there was a young man who didn't live far from me at all, just a few miles, and he wanted to know if he could come in and show me some of the work that he had done in gunsmithing school recently, within the recent few months. And I said, sure, you're welcome to pop by. So he did. And I could tell pretty quick he wasn't very confident. Not everybody is, some of us have the
No.
gift of gab, and we're very out there. We're good to go. Some of us are not. That's all right. Anyway, we started visiting. He had this 1911 that put together, and it was obviously put a great deal of time and energy into it. And I remember he handed it to me, and I cycled the slide with care, and the front sight fell off on the ground. And so he reached out and picked it up and shoved it in there. And I assume that he cut the dovetail all wrong, too loose, or maybe it was just wedged in there just right that it must have seemed like he had drifted it in or pushed it in.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it popped out and fell out. Picked it up. I stuck it back in there. I said, "It's all right." I said, "It's not like you're." What did I tell him? Basically, it's not like this is a job interview. So then he says, "Well, I was kind of hoping for a job here." I'm like, "Okay, well." So he's looking. I can't remember what the next thing that happened was. I don't remember whether something else fell off on it. I can remember. I went to press the barrel around with my thumb just to see, how tight the bushing was fit, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Clank, clank. And I said, "Did you mean for it to be quite this loose?" He's like, "That's not loose." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, show me how it's tight." And I handed it to him, and he went clink, clink, and the sight fell off again. It was just kind of one of those perfect storms for everything to go poorly. And I never felt so bad my entire life. The kid picked the sight up, stuck it in the slide, and turned around and walked out of my shop. No hi, goodbye, kiss my tail feathers, nothing. I mean, he admitted defeat, I guess, and he left. I've never seen him since. I've never seen the guy, and he lived not far from here. I don't know if he left. I don't know if he moved. I don't know what happened. But sometimes you get out of school, whether it's gunsmithing school, whether you're going to be a lawyer, whatever else, and you go in to visit with somebody, and it doesn't go well at all.
Yeah, that's so true. It reminds me of when we were in school, they would take round stock and then we'd have to cut literally the dovetail by hand. And we did it so many times until it was light tight. And there was kids trying to cheat and put Loctite in it. So when you look it up, like held it up to the light, you could not see the light shining through the big gaping dovetail that they overcut. Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, good times. Okay. All right. So gunsmith school, not too far from where you lived. And then so you did that, and did you go to work for another shop, or did you hang out your shingle, or what?
So when towards the end of me graduating, shooting sports and Brownells offered me a scholarship. And so that kind of put me, I know we were getting our tools and like our tooling and all that stuff from them to go to school. So I was familiar with Brownells and their catalog and all that stuff. But when I got towards the end and I knew I was going to go into industry, I had already prepared that I was going to interview for a lot of different places. And to be exact, it was like 167 different companies that I applied for. And then I had about 5 like that I went to interviews and flew to those facilities and actually did the job interviews. But Brownells was the one that I knew was like the pinnacle. It's the biggest, it's the baddest. And that's the one I was like, I really want to get there. And I got lucky because when I applied, there was not a gunsmithing position open, which is what they call their gun techs. But there was a guy that had just retired. And so in the middle of the process of me talking with them, a position came open and I was like, I'll take it. So that's how.
Do you remember who the guy was?
His name was Scott. I know he was prior law enforcement, maybe even like a SWAT, like operator or whatever.
Okay.
Commander or whatever, but I didn't know his name now. But I knew it was Scott, and he went back to Texas or something to be with his family.
Okay. All right. I know or have known of a lot, maybe not all, but most of those guys at some point or another. So I just wondered if there's anybody that I know.
Yeah.
Okay. So you moved or you did not move?
Yeah. We once I got the offer to move to Iowa, they paid for us to move. So we moved, we stayed in Grinnell because at the time they had some rental properties that Pete Brownell owned. And so they said, hey, you guys stay here for as long as you need. And we were in the process of also buying a house. So we lived in Williamsburg, Iowa. And when our house closed, we moved out of the rental and then into our own house. So it was a good transition.
Okay, good. Okay, so how long ago's that been?
I've been back in North Carolina coming up on 3 years.
Okay, all right. All right. So, is there a Second Amendment community difference between the Carolinas and Middle Iowa, or Iowa in general?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So how so?
Iowa is a very red state, and I miss that. And people that are into guns are very honest about it, and it's very friendly and open community. One of the things I laugh about Iowa compared to here is, and this is something that caught me first day when I got off the plane and I walked up to an Iowan and they said, how are you doing? And I said, I'm good. How are you doing? And then I spent 20 minutes hearing about how their day was. So in the South, we say that and no one cares how you're really doing. And so that was one of those things that I learned and then really appreciated and also miss now that I don't have that. But yeah, the 2A community in Iowa are I've shot at a lot of farms and a lot of different ranges and machine guns with you guys. So there's been a lot of great memories that I have. In North Carolina, it's a mix. You have people that are anti-gun and that hate 2A in the community that we support and that we're about. And then you have people like me that are diehard Americans and love our gun rights.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It's good when we have these conversations for people to take some context away from these things, because we get insulated in where we live and what we do. And sometimes a lot of the people that are listening to this, or a lot of people in Iowa, especially, since it isn't a state where you typically go to get rich. So there's a lot of people that aren't flush. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
some folks, they're not traveling a lot. They're not going a lot of places and doing a lot of things. I have many friends. This is no joke. I have many friends that have never left Iowa.
Yeah.
Never been outside of Iowa on vacation or traveling or anything like that.
Yeah.
And there are several, obviously, that have never been outside the country. They've never seen other cultures or anything like that. So right now, at the moment, we're a little stalled on some Second Amendment legislation, and we're having some legislators that are basically saying, hey, we've done so much. I've kind of got Second Amendment burnout. And oh, by the way, I'm not hearing much from constituents about it. So it's not really something that I want to do going into election year. And that usually for people like me, that incenses me, but I have to understand where they're at. And so I ended up interviewing the first vice president of NRA, Mark Vaughn, just a little bit ago, earlier this morning, so that he can kind of help set the stage, because what these folks need to understand is Iowa is a really, really great place to be in terms of Second Amendment advancements and protection right now. It was not 20 years ago. So there are legislators out there saying, why do we need to keep doing this? And I'm like, you don't understand. You've been part of building something absolutely phenomenal over the last 2 decades. Now you not only have to defend it, but you have to keep leading, because other people are looking to you for that. And I don't think they recognize that. So it's really, really important for us, Perry, to talk about these things in true context so that people get it. I don't think that they understand some of this stuff. They don't know what it's like to go next door in some of the states, much less out to the East Coast. And I would consider Carolina's East Coast, like it or not.
Yeah, it definitely is. Even just coming back home, we had to avoid going into Illinois because we knew their gun laws were not friendly for us at all. So we went to basically into Missouri a little bit and then came back out on the bottom side just to kind of stay away from that and not, I mean, we were moving and I had probably 100 and more guns in my vehicle, in my truck at the time. And so it was important that I protect my rights and my ability to keep those guns. So, yeah.
Crazy. I'm told that if you have those things locked away and you're traveling, you don't get them out, you don't do anything, that Illinois won't mess with you over that, but I'm never willing to find out.
I'm not either.
All right. So you made your way to the Midwest, and you were working for Brownells. Were you still doing projects on the side or not?
Yeah, I did. I did some projects on the side. I kind of started off as a gun tech and worked with products, helped other gunsmiths kind of source different things in their shop, materials, tooling, and that kind of stuff. And then I got the marketing bug, and I watched the marketing team do really phenomenal things. And one of my closest friends was Josh Coburn, and another Iowan, and he kind of introduced me to that world. And so once me and him kind of hit it off and became really good friends, that's where I was like, I really want to dip my toes into this and see how to get into that. And so that's where me building different guns, and there was some stuff that we built and that it was on our YouTube. And then also later on, Caleb Savant took over, and then he did some stuff, phenomenal job by him, because he came in after me and just did a really great job of really branding the company and bringing kind of some new age into the company. But we were building stuff all the time for different events, or GunCon was the first one that we had at Brownells. I was a part of the planning process, and we built some really cool guns to give away. I did some custom Cerakote jobs, and like I ported a 12 gauge and did some fabrication, like a 3-gun cut and some really cool modifications to a shotgun. And then we gave it away to veterans. So I got to do really cool stuff while I was there, because I had a machine shop that I could just walk in and just do whatever I wanted.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting how these things have changed. I think Josh is spends most of his time in Nicaragua now.
Yeah. He went from Michigan to Nicaragua. Yeah, but I talked to him the other day. He's doing phenomenal. So
yeah, I hear he's a proprietor or something like that in a cigar company and all kinds of crazy stuff. I follow a little bit of that. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's an entrepreneur, just born entrepreneur. Like, he's owned so many different businesses, and he owns the cigar business, Dissident Cigars.
Yeah,
he has a brandy like whiskey business. Like, he has a marketing business that he's doing stuff back in the gun community again. So yeah, he's an amazing dude. He is so talented. He can do about anything he puts his mind to.
Yeah, I had Ryan Rep gave me a couple of those Dissident cigars not long ago when he came out to the shop to just to catch up. And I told him, I said, I don't smoke as many cigars as I used to, but this is really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Where can I buy these? He's like, well, the little cigar shop over there on the west side has them, and he said, but good luck. And I said, what do you mean good luck? He's like, well, they sell out really fast. I said, well, okay, how fast? He's like, by the end of the day. And I'm like, well, how am I going to get my hands on those? Looks like you'd know somebody to help me out. So I leveraged that a little bit. I don't know if it'll come to fruition, but anyway, it's interesting to see that. And then Caleb, you talk about new age stuff and breathing a little bit of current event life, so to speak, and things. And then you take a look at him, and he's wearing his hair like Andy Griffith, straight out of Mayberry, and he's running around with a pipe, dude.
Yeah.
Not a corncob pipe, but I mean an absolute, like Sherlock Holmes or something,
Yeah.
And you look at this, you're like, that guy is doing this. Yeah, as a matter of fact. And isn't he from like down in the Delta? Isn't he a Louisiana boy?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he is. But yeah, we used to tease him a lot about how much his hair weighs because of all the product he put in it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I have seen that pipe too. He's pulled that out jokingly at work, and it's always a good sign when he pulls that out.
What's the? I can't remember. Is it Brillo cream? Is that what they call that stuff? That he lathers in there?
Oh my God, yeah,
something like that.
It looks like grease from like a grease gun. It's just so thick. It's got to weigh like 3 pounds.
Oh yeah. And what's the? Is it Raising Arizona when the boys get out of prison? And then they just they're trying to steal. They're going to steal a car, but they're in the bathroom just rubbing 10 pounds of this stuff in like it's a handfuls
Yeah.
of Vaseline. You're like, okay, well, whatever. I vaguely remember when I was a pup, seeing truck drivers and a few folks that sported that hairstyle or whatever with that hair product, but it's been a while.
Yeah, it's something for sure.
So, okay, so your Second Amendment immersion takes you through some of that stuff, and then you decided to head back east.
Yeah, so towards the end of me working for Brownells, I had in 2020, I had just a routine doctor's appointment, and they found a mass in my head. But they didn't find it while I was there. I was driving home, and the doctor calls me back, and she said, "Where are you at?" And I said, "Well, I'm at my house. What's going on?" She said, "Come back." And I was like, "What's going on?" And so she's like, "I need you to come back immediately." And so I grabbed my wife. I'm like, "This sounds serious." And she jumped in the car with me. We went back, and they said they found a mass in my head that was about the size of like a Tonka truck, little matchbox car. Um, and so I spent 2 years with that trying to figure out if this is going to kill me or like if it's life threatening, like what's the deal with this? And it turned out it was an injury back in my early childhood because a lot of people don't know that like when I was a kid, I played baseball most of my life. And then when I got to about middle school, my dad's like, "You want to play baseball or you want to do something else?" And I was kind of teetering on changing. And then some neighborhood boys, I went over, they were teenagers. I was like maybe 12 years old. I got beat up so bad that I needed to go to the hospital. Um, and so my dad, like the next day, was like, "We're going to enroll you into martial arts. You're going to learn how to fight. You're going to learn how to defend yourself." And so I did martial arts till my early 20s. And I competed professionally. I went to the States, had a bronze and a silver that allowed me to compete in the U.S. Championships, which is now called the U.S. Olympics. And
Hmm.
then I had 2 gold medals. So I did
Wow.
really well. And one of the fights, I got kicked in the head. The guy axe kicks me right in the head. And I had a concussion, but back then they didn't have all the stuff that they do now, where they give you CT scans and MRIs and all that stuff. It wasn't a thing. It was like just stay awake was
Yeah.
the concussion, risk. So that was one of those things that I found out after 2 years and going to like 5 different doctors and one neurosurgeon that I'm good, but there is this thing in my head and it kind of affects my memory a little bit. My short-term memory is not the best. And so that was in 2020. So in 2022, I tried to do the good husbandly thing and get a vasectomy. And that did not go well. That I had a botched surgery, and so at GunCon, yeah, I know exactly. At GunCon, I was hobbling around trying to recover from that surgery, and went to a specialist and said, "Hey, look, this guy really chopped me up, and I'm not doing well." And they did a screening and found out I had cancer. So then I found out I had testicular cancer and had surgery, and finally got better, healed up. And then me and my wife were kind of figuring out what we want to do. And I, going through 2 life scares within a couple of years of each other, I was like, what do I want to do with my life? What do I really want? And then the best advice I've ever gotten is Josh Coburn's like, "Hey, I just want to talk to you for a second." And I was like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Why does anybody wait till they're retired to do what they really want to do? What do you want to do? What's your dream?" And so my dream is always to own a cabin in the mountains and just live in the mountains full time. And so I told my wife my dream, and she said, "When do you want to sell the house?" I was like, "What? Like, we're not even going to talk about this?" She's like, "No, I support you 100%. We've gone through a lot. Like, you almost died. We thought you were going to die. We spent a year thinking you were going to die, and then you got cancer. And then we're like, oh God, he's really going to die this time." So they're like, "No, whatever you want to do, we'll do." So we sold everything. I quit Brownells. We sold everything, and we moved back home. I'm from North Carolina, born in Kinston, North Carolina. I was raised in Raleigh, North Carolina. My wife was Apex, North Carolina. So we're North Carolinians through and through. And my parents came with me because they moved out to Iowa with us. So they were there 7 years with us, and so they came back to North Carolina with us when we moved. But that's kind of how my journey at Brownells kind of ended. It wasn't because of anything bad, or I really miss Brownells. I did a lot. I still do a lot of social media stuff for them. But it was time, to move on and do what I want to do.
So what does an average week look like
For me?
Yeah.
I work for Trailblazer Firearms now. And one of the things that I love about that company is they're so innovative. They make really cool and different firearms. They're well known for their Life Card. It's supposed to be one of the smallest pocket pistols you can carry. It looks like an Altoid box or like a credit card size firearm, but the handle folds out, and it's a single shot little pistol, and 22 long rifle and 22 mag. And so that is like their bread and butter. They did come out with a carbine and 9mm. It's called the Pivot. It's won a couple of awards for shooting, really accurate and just a nice little target shooter. So they make two products, but they're two phenomenal products. So I've been working for them for about a month now.
All right. Are you doing Second Amendment advocacy in your neighborhood?
Always. Yeah.
Okay, what's that consist of?
So a lot of it's education. I spend a lot of my time in different circles talking to different people. And some of that has been dealing with local law enforcement. I even did that in Iowa. When I was there, I was working with local police departments and just trying to get good education out to the community. And also being available to train people efficiently and to answer questions about firearms. A lot of self-defense stuff I've done in the past. Also educating kids and women in firearms. I've done that before as well. And so I've spoke at different events about that kind of stuff. So here, it's a smaller community, what I'm in now. So I'm hoping that I can get back into that and start being kind of a voice for 2A and also educating people on firearms and firearm safety.
So you're part of the local culture.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything with any specific groups? Are you part of the inner workings of something where you hold some sort of position or advocate level, or what?
Not here yet, because I've been back like coming up on 3 years. I haven't yet because I've had a lot of different like areas that I've been working in. When I first got here, I got involved with my church and was running like operations for them for a while because they needed that, and then ended up working for another company that helps farmers. And so we were trying to find them, they call it the H-2A program. It's like foreign labor support when farmers cannot find American workers to work American jobs. And so I've been really busy in that kind of stuff. This is like the first time I'm actually cutting away and getting back into firearms, back into the industry. So that's one of those things that I really desperately miss and want to get back into. So to be honest, a lot of my time was kind of wrapped up in those two areas. And now that I'm finally coming back home, so to speak, I can't wait to get back in that community as well.
I'm going to share your Instagram page here real quick. And you can find that at Gunsmith Beard. It's Perry Whitaker, of course. When I zip down through here, which I do frequently, I see all kinds of different stuff. And you made mention to this earlier. Those brakes are pretty crazy, by the way. I don't know if you have a lot of experience with those in bigger calibers and shorter, whatever. It's nuts, man. No, what was it that you said earlier that tripped my trigger? That you were busy doing things pretty much for other people's benefit or helping everybody else get things up and off the ground. What does that mean?
So when I was at Brownells, for the first 2 years, I didn't even have social media for really. I posted some stuff on there, but didn't really do a whole lot. And then I started growing my brand as I kind of entered into their marketing department and with social media and working with their marketing team. And then I found myself, and I always find myself helping other people, because we have, well, Brownhouse has the BOP, which is the Bureau of Propaganda. It's basically their ambassador program. And that was obviously, engineered by Roy Hill and, Josh Coburn and Cody Hinton and myself. And those guys really created that program for content creators or influencers, whatever you want to call them, to be able to do 2A content and post it. So I always find myself helping other people. And some of the friendships that I've made is guys that are trying to get out into that arena and they are struggling. And so when I was at Brownells, it was one of those things that I got to do. I got to grow and help people build their brand. And so a lot of those people that I first, started talking with, they're huge now. They're doing well. So I've always kind of put others before myself, and you can kind of see that. Like, I've never been a real big YouTuber or a big, Instagrammer, but I always love to help people and serve people, and that's kind of why it is what it is.
That's fantastic. I have a great admiration for people that do a lot of their work with others as beneficiaries. So thank you for that. I think I can understand some of that. As I scroll down through here, it's kind of interesting to see some of these people, many of which I know or have been part of. I mean, I see these pictures of Roy. I haven't seen Roy in a coon's age. I think he still lives locally, but I think he works for a place that's out of Lincoln now or something. I don't remember.
He's at Magpul now.
Oh, shut up. For real?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I talked to him last month, and I was like, "You're where?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm out with Magpul now." And I'm like, "No kidding." I was like, what a fantastic spot for him.
Well, is he working out in Colorado on the East Slope, or is he still around Iowa?
I don't know, because I know his son was like in transition between college and high school and college, and so I know that's why he stayed. But like, I don't know if they've completely gone full send to Colorado or not, but I do know that that's where he's working, which is amazing for him. That's some of my photography. I used to love photography. Yeah,
there's some nice stuff in there. Okay, so I get into these things that I cruise through people's sites, and I have to remember, Perry, that the overwhelming majority of people participating right now are listening to the podcast rather than seeing. So you can go, just for everybody's edification, go to Instagram.com and check out Gunsmith Beard. But so in terms of a traditionally trained gunsmith, a Second Amendment advocate, are you doing firearm work right now? I mean, of your own, or is that kind of sidelined, or where are you at on that?
I always do projects that I want to do on my own, depending on what, I'm interested in the moment. It's whenever I can build things, I'll build things and put things together, stuff I've never done. The problem is, like, we all kind of see this at SHOT Show every year. There's not a lot of new stuff out there. It's kind of the same old stuff, kind of repeated or regurgitated. And so whenever I can get something different or something I've never worked on, then I tend to gravitate towards that kind of stuff, and I'll jump on it and, start working on it, but not a whole lot. I'm really trying to help Trailblazer Firearms right now, because they are a smaller company and they're trying to build that brand up and really take it to the next level. Plus, we have some new products that are coming out this year that a lot of our customers will love, absolutely love. And there's Roy Hill.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. When you say, and when I say something like there's not a lot of interesting new stuff that comes out of SHOT, most people listen to this are like, what are you talking about? I mean, they're like, I look forward to that time of year more than Christmas, because they've got all this stuff. I mean, and some people have managed to really, really market themselves in really fantastic ways. I mean, Palmetto State people have set everybody up to just salivate for all the neat stuff that they're going to bring out. Now they're a little different than Kel-Tec, because when Kel-Tec does that, and bring out something really cool everybody wants. Somewhere between 2 and 17 years later, they'll bring some of it actually into the marketplace for people to buy. But and sometimes not that frequently. But
Yeah, and in all fairness, some years are better than others. There's
yeah,
some years that you can tell, like especially if the market's down, you'll see a lot of companies play it safe and they don't put a whole lot out because they don't want to invest a lot of money in a new product that might not sell.
yeah,
But when gun sales are up and the market's good, you'll see all kind of really cool stuff. So in fairness, it is still the Super Bowl for guns, and that's one of those phrasing that I think puts it the best. Is SHOT Show is like the Super Bowl for guns. So if you're into the newest greatest thing, then it's always going to be the best, in my
yeah,
opinion. But
yeah,
sometimes you walk, especially if you've been there and you walk the what is it, 18 miles that your
yeah.
watch will tell you walked 18,000 steps or some craziness. You start seeing a lot of the same stuff over and over and over and over again. And
Oh,
there'll be like 30 booths that have like something that's like, wow, I've never seen that before. That's amazing.
man, it's a trip down memory lane to go down through some of this stuff and take a peek. Very cool stuff.
Yep.
So, what's next? I mean, do you have anything that's going on that we should be talking about or we should know about? I mean, the reason that I brought you on is because I know you're a Second Amendment guy through and through, but I thought, there's no
Yeah.
reason for us to not share a little bit here. So, if it's not inappropriate, can you tell us your plans?
Um, it's one of those things. I wanted to get back in the gun industry because I really missed it. I love the culture. I love the people. And coming from Brownells, I wanted to get back with maybe a little bit different company. I love the company I'm at now because they're not it's for one, it's three engineers. It originally was owned by I think their cousin, and then they bought him out, and Aaron was the original owner, and they bought him out. Now it's three engineers. But the best part, that's a little bit different than Brownells, is when we did R&D, not all of us got a seat at that table. And so now with a smaller company, we're doing R&D and looking at new guns and new calibers and different things. And I have a seat at that table, and I can say, have you thought of this? Oh no, we haven't. Well, have you thought of that? And so I have more of a say on the R&D, and I've always loved R&D and developing things and creating things and making things better that exist. So the place that I'm at now is probably one of those dream jobs that guys pray for, that they really really want, and then it just happened to the stars aligned, and I got to take that position. And so this is where I'm at. So I'm really excited for the next couple of years because I think this company is going to come out with some amazing stuff. I know just this year alone, we're going to come out with, if I'm going to give you a kind of a sneak peek, we're going to come out with something that's center fired. The audience has told us, the customers have raved about, why don't you have a center fire? Well, this year is the year we're going to have it. So, and I'll just leave it at that. But it's going to be
Okay.
awesome.
All right, fantastic. Okay. I always like getting the scoop. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you for that.
you're welcome.
Perry said. All right. Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you for your time today. Is there anything else that we should know about how the Second Amendment has touched your life and how you're touching it? I'm curious about that.
So I have three kids. If you go on my social media, I try to protect them like most dads will from that kind of world. But my kids love guns. They love shooting guns. The other weekend, we went and played airsoft because it's the closest things to Sims that I can play with a teenager and a 7-year-old. So they've always been exposed to guns because when I was in school, they watched me build things and they wanted to know, like, how does that work, Daddy? And like, how does this work? And so it's passing that legacy down to my kids. And then also the community that I'm involved in. It seems like any community that I find myself in, I always have people asking questions, and especially if they found out my background, they want to learn. And so I love helping people and teaching people and being a part of that and being a good voice, because there are some bad voices out there, especially in our community, and it just sets people the wrong direction. So I try to do my best to communicate that the best I can, but also support the gun-toting Americans that are out there like myself.
Fantastic. I can live with that. All right, Perry Whitaker, Gunsmith Beard, thank you for taking some time and coming on the Warrior Wednesday program. Tell your friends, and as everybody listening out there, the only way that this really works well is when you support the people that support you. So we encourage you to go to IFC's site, check out the trusted partners there, and do business with the people who are doing business with you and supporting you. We always appreciate that. Please become a member, and always check our action tab underneath the resources so that you can advocate. We try and make that as easy as possible. So thank you for that. Again, Perry Whitaker, Gunsmith Beard on Instagram and YouTube channel, other places, of course. Thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Most welcome. My honor.
Bye now.